I used to believe that some secrets are so heavy they change the way a woman breathes, and mine began the night I felt my unborn child kick while another man's hand rested on my back, and I realized in that moment that whatever happened next would either destroy me or force me to become someone braver than I'd ever been. I was 7 months pregnant when loneliness first learned my name. My husband, Adil, was not cruel, not unfaithful, not careless in the ways people warn you about. He was simply exhausted, working longer hours, chasing a promotion he believed would secure our future. I told myself I understood. I smiled when he came home late, reheated his dinner, and listened as he spoke about deadlines and office politics. But pregnancy has a way of amplifying everything you already feel. The nights felt longer, my body felt unfamiliar, and the silence between us grew louder than any argument ever could. I needed reassurance, tenderness, proof that I was still seen as a woman and not just a responsibility. That was when Samir appeared, quietly and dangerously. He was a friend of a friend, someone who helped organize a small community event I volunteered for to distract myself. He noticed when I was tired. He asked how I was really feeling, not how the baby was. His voice carried warmth, and his eyes lingered just long enough to make me feel visible again. I told myself it was harmless. I told myself I deserved kindness. I told myself a lot of lies before I told the biggest one, to my own conscience. The first betrayal wasn't physical. It was emotional. It was the way I waited for Samir's messages and reread them when the baby wouldn't let me sleep. It was the way I compared his attentiveness to my husband's absence. Guilt arrived early, but I pushed it aside with excuses. I was pregnant. I was vulnerable. I needed support. Each excuse built a bridge toward something I knew I should never cross. The day it happened, rain blurred the city into streaks of gray. Samir offered to drop me home after a meeting. We sat in the car longer than necessary, talking about fear, about responsibility, about how life changes before you're ready. When he touched my hand, I didn't pull away. When he leaned closer, my heart pounded, not with romance, but with rebellion. I thought of my husband, of my unborn child, and still, I closed my eyes. The betrayal was brief, clumsy, and immediately devastating. The moment it ended, I felt smaller than I had ever felt in my life. I went home and washed my hands again and again, as if water could erase memory. That night, my husband placed his palm on my stomach and smiled when the baby kicked. I smiled back, and something inside me cracked. From that day on, pregnancy was no longer just about anticipation, it was about carrying guilt alongside new life. I avoided Samir, blocked his number, and tried to bury the truth. But secrets don't die quietly. They grow teeth. Weeks passed. My husband became more present, more attentive, as if sensing something fragile inside me. He started coming home earlier, assembling the crib with careful patience, reading parenting articles aloud like they were love letters. His kindness became my punishment. Every gentle act made my silence heavier. I lost sleep, lost appetite, lost myself in a fog of regret. I began to understand that betrayal doesn't just hurt the person you deceive, it poisons the one who commits it. The night before my due date, pain woke me, not labor, but panic. I sat on the edge of the bed, tears soaking my hands, realizing that if I didn't tell the truth, it would own me forever. I imagined my child growing up in a house built on a lie. I imagined looking into my husband's eyes for the rest of my life, knowing I had stolen his right to choose. That thought hurt more than any consequence I feared. I woke him up and asked him to listen. My voice shook as I confessed everything, the loneliness, the weakness, the moment I destroyed our trust. He didn't interrupt me. He didn't shout. He just sat there, silent, as if the world had paused to watch him break. When I finished, he stood up and left the room. I heard the door close, softly. That sound was louder than thunder. Hours later, he returned. His eyes were red, his voice unsteady. He asked one question that cut deeper than any accusation, "Is the baby mine?" When I said yes, he nodded, as if holding onto the last piece of ground beneath his feet. He told me he didn't know if he could forgive me, but he knew he wouldn't abandon his child. That night, we slept in the same room, miles apart. Labor began the next morning. Pain stripped everything else away, fear, pride, excuses. In that hospital room, my husband held my hand while I screamed and cried and apologized without words. When our child was born, tiny and perfect, something shifted. It didn't fix us, it didn't erase what I'd done, but it reminded us that life still chooses to begin, even in the ruins. Recovery was slow and painful. Trust does not return because you wish it to. My husband insisted on counseling, not to punish me, but to protect himself. I answered questions I hated. I faced my ugliness without defending it. There were days he looked at me with love, and days he looked at me like a stranger. I accepted both, because consequences are part of accountability. Over time, something unexpected happened. Honesty replaced fear. Conversations replaced silence. I learned that love isn't proven by perfection, but by the courage to confront your worst self and still choose responsibility. My husband learned that forgiveness is not a single act, but a process that demands strength from both sides. I will never justify what I did. Pregnancy did not make me betray my husband, my choices did. But that season taught me a truth I carry like a scar and a lesson. Loneliness should be spoken, not hidden. Weakness should be confessed, not indulged. And trust, once broken, can only be rebuilt with relentless honesty. If you're listening to this and holding a secret that feels too heavy, understand this: silence may feel safer, but it slowly destroys everything you love. I betrayed my husband during pregnancy, and it nearly cost me my family. What saved us wasn't luck or time, it was truth, accountability, and the painful decision to become better than the worst thing I ever did.